Having come up with your question, and this is mine, it's time to start thinking about how we can criticise and improve it to make sure it's a really good question that meets all the criteria we discussed earlier. So once you've come up with your question, it's time to discuss the idea with friends, family, teachers, whoever makes sense to you. It's about asking if this question makes sense outside your head. Can you clearly describe what it is you want to do, what the question is you want to ask? And also think about the questions that people ask you back. They might suggest an interesting different direction or some sub-questions that actually might be more interesting to answer. To take a few examples, these are the kinds of questions that colleagues might ask me if I propose this question. Well, okay, which social medium? There are lots of different social media. Is there one that's more prominent than another and therefore more worth looking at? What about the role of the movement? Is this movement different to other campaigns? Are there other social movements I could compare it to make the question more interesting? There's a time element. Am I thinking about very recent events or events going back a few years? Am I interested in the momentary flowering of a movement or the development of a movement? Is there enough evidence for me to be able to answer this question? You might say that Black Lives Matter is a relatively recent movement, and therefore there might not be enough material in the research literature. By asking and answering these kinds of questions, you eventually come down and shape your question until it's a really solid one that's worth your while answering.